General Beauregard, the fella, was the apex of Rooster existence. He told us so himself. He told us so every morning, right around the time the fog got snagged on the barbed wire, and again in the afternoon when the heat had cooked all the sense out of the day. Me and Perlene, we'd be sitting on the porch of the outfit, which is what we called the plantation once the money got thin and the word plantation started to feel too big for the britches we had left. We'd be shelling peas or trying to figure out the new payroll taxes, and here he'd come, romping, as he called it. To romp, for a chicken, means to walk with a kind of jerky, self-important limp, like you're trying to shake a snack off your foot, but also pretend you're doing it on purpose. "I am a proud rooster," he'd declare to the heat shimmer rising off the packed dirt, "a red-banded rooster. My name is General Beauregard." We knew his name. Everybody in 3 counties knew his name, mostly because he'd get up on the fence post and scream it before dawn, which is a different, more ambitious act than just crowing. "I am," he'd say, "ornamental, useful, loving, caring, when I'm not being boastful and a braggart and a little bit too much on edge, you know." He'd puff his chest out then and the light would catch the badge. That badge was the whole problem. It was the key to him. It was a little brass-colored pin, 5-pointed, and it was by his honor the very center of his being. He was always clutching at it, though he had no hands, so he'd sort of nudge it with his beak, a gesture he must have practiced. The truth of the fella, the thing that made him tragic instead of just loud, was this. He thinks he's a whole lot smarter than what he is. That's really his only problem. Well, that and the pen. Because that pen he wore, the one he called his Medal of Honor, his badge of rank, wasn't any of those things. Perlene's youngest, little Emmy, had brought it home from kindergarten. It was a Big Chief brand pen. It came free in a 10-pack of those big, fat pencils, the kind you can't hardly write with, the ones with the eraser that just smears. All he saw was big and chief. He didn't get it. He found it in the yard after Emmy dropped it, and he must have had one of those betwitched moments he was always talking about. He must have seen it as a sign from the universe that he was, in fact, the Big Chief. He rolled in the dirt with it for 2 days until he got it stuck good in his chest feathers. From that moment on, he wasn't just a Red-Venom rooster. He was General Beauregard. That pen was, as Perlene said, a kindergarten flop. It was a scholastic item for children, and he was wearing it like it was Appomattox. He was teetering, not tatering, though he used that word too. He was teetering on the edge of a kindergarten flop and calling it honor. He'd stand there polishing the pencil logo with his beak and look at the decay of the old outfit. He'd see the peel and paint on the main house, the way the weeds were clutching the foundation, and he'd mistake the rot for opportunity. He'd look at me, his eyes gone flat and prophetic. He'd say, "My life is not a lost cause," which is always how you know a fella thinks maybe it is. Or maybe it is. I don't know. Doesn't matter. I don't give a shit. That's right. And then he'd suck in a breath, fill his lungs with the thick, humid air of the Arkansas Delta, and scream it. The catchphrase, the thesis, the mic drop that landed with the force of a Tennessee Williams fever dream. "Cock-a-doodle-doo, motherfuckers. .com, bitches." And me and Perlene would just keep shelling peas. Because what else are you gonna do? You can't argue pragmatic morality with a rooster wearing a pencil pen who also believes he has invented the internet. You just wait for the flop.